Oh,
Jim loves that lady.
I do.
He's always showing me
God
pictures
bless that
of her.
woman. American dream.
This episode is made possible by our TheraPartners, Dirty B, Myra, and Pickett. From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. Broadcasting from the Churn, that's Dr. Jim, that's Whitney, I'm Nick. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
So I got in late, but quick story. I had a birthday this weekend. Whitney, you might be wondering,
Whose
why
birthday?
is Jim 3% more attractive right now?
No one was wondering.
That
Is
is
40-year-olds are
science.
hot? Is that the...
38, bitch.
I was like 40.
I'll
You said
be
3%. You
no,
didn't say
3%.
100%.
Men become
40?
3% more attractive every year
Oh,
they
it's every year.
age.
Also,
Until
I
when?
think
it's 50. I think we plateau around
70.
50.
What is it? 72.5% of all statistics are made up on the spot.
I've shown you this study. I've sent it to you. We talked about it years ago.
I don't remember.
I will send it to you right now. I have it screenshotted.
I'm sure you do.
In case it ever comes up in the wild, I'm fucking ready. I have a graph.
In case it ever comes up, because Jim brought it up in the
I
wild.
always am the guy who brings it up.
Because you know what women really love is they love being told why they should find you attractive.
Right. Okay,
that's what
you know
they
what's
really
weird.
love.
You're joking, but you're kind of not
Yes.
wrong. Okay, because that is a thing.
Oh my God.
There's a consensus
Stop
thing
talking.
where women are told what to like by the propaganda machines.
Don't tell me.
That's a
Tell
thing.
Whitney. Don't look at me. Look over there. You got to explain
I
this
like
to
that
her.
you interrupted
Taste
Whitney
makers.
saying the word mansplaining.
This is true.
To
Let me explain
that.
what women are into, Whitney. You don't get it. I know.
You know what's funny, though?
That was amazing.
I partially... Let
Don't.
me finish. I partially agree, but not the part about the gender, but that people are told what to like.
Yes.
I was just talking about this.
And I consider women people, unlike Nick, and therefore,
Interesting.
I've got that.
So you were just pointing out that women are told, but you just left off the men part.
No, they also are told.
Oh,
what to
okay,
like.
okay.
Yeah,
That's fair.
But in my case, it benefits me that women are told what to like, and that I am technically 3% more attractive in the eyes of the consensus of all women.
Let's take a consensus of the women in this survey.
That's not relevant. That's not relevant, Whitney. That's not how data works. Okay, that is an outlier. we got to aggregate this number. But did have a good weekend. Did the whole birthday shenanigans.
Yeah, what'd you do for your birthday?
Friday, I took the day off, and I went and saw Napoleon.
You took a day
with
off?
Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
That
I want to
looked
see that.
really
And if you've
good.
ever thought, I want to watch a movie about the least interesting part of a very famous person's
I heard
life,
it did not get good reviews.
it is god awful.
no.
I walked out. I have not walked out of a movie.
At the end of the movie?
Wow.
Yeah, I walked out at the end credits. I did not stay for the end scene. No, I walked out about halfway through. The movie is entirely about his extremely awkward sex life with his wife.
Okay.
That is
cool.
it.
Okay,
It's because they did it on horseback.
Right. And when you're thinking, man, what about all the interesting
Bareback.
things Napoleon did? They're going to go and skim that
That was a
shit and
horse.
get right back to the awkward sex that he has with his wife. Good. And the fact that she's not into him. So that's the movie. Spoiler alert. Yeah.
Well, I was on Discord earlier and I saw that you didn't like the movie, and so I was like, oh my gosh, Jim said this about that movie, and Peter goes, well, I really want to watch it now. He's
see
like,
it.
I
Yeah.
don't believe it.
Go
He's
see
like,
it.
that makes me want to watch it even more.
I want you to, and I
agree
want you
with-
to
I
come
agree
back
with you.
afterward. Yeah, and then be like, ah, shit, we wasted perfectly good money. So I did that. And
I'll
then,
see it, but I probably won't see it in theater. I'll probably see it when it comes out.
100% wait
On
till
the
it comes
streaming, yeah.
out. That
On
is the
Netflix.
only move to do. Yeah, or HBO. So I did that on Friday, and then
Do you have like birthday traditions? Like
Not
you
really.
eat a favorite meal, or do you have a
yeah,
favorite
no,
cake?
he does have a birthday tradition. It starts in November
And
when
they-
he has to
Start
tell
complaining.
everybody
Start
that his
complaining
birthday's
about it.
coming up.
That's cute.
I thought it
You're
was
taking
all
sense in
year.
November.
Yeah, I was just like, I thought it was
usually
all
it's in
year.
July, actually, because in July I start complaining about why my birthday's not in July.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's
fair.
the
So
only
you had a pool
tradition I
party?
Yeah, exactly. God, I hate it. So, yep, did that. And then on Saturday, went to the UNLV game, the championship game, where
Yeah.
we got rocked by Boise.
That was terrible.
That was a bad day. But we did tailgate, which was a good time.
Nice.
Had a
Good.
good time at that. And then did a little staycation. So did a little staycation at the South Point. I went and saw the Spasmatics.
I like the Spasmatics.
Dude, what a fun night.
They're a band.
Well,
It's
I
a
was like, what
band
is
that's like an
this?
80s review band.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're an
that's
80s
cool.
they're an 80s cover band, but they're all dressed as like
Nerds.
Revenge of the Nerds type nerds.
Oh, that's
Yes.
cool.
So there's
Bike
spazzes.
helmets.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
really cool. Okay.
They are fun. I mean, a damn good time. The front man has got tons of energy. just a rock out 80s good time.
Now, here's what's funny.
It was really cool.
They are a corporate band.
Oh, okay.
So there's a guy that owns the Spasmatics brand.
Oh,
and
they swap
put
out?
together. They put together multiple bands and have them out
yeah.
and everything. So I know a lot of the people in Spasmatics. I don't even know who you would have seen.
Well, that makes sense because
I probably have seen them before.
Yeah, I looked them up, and I saw that they were like playing in Austin, but then they have like a regular appearance at the South Point. And I was like, wow, these guys are a travel band?
Right.
So that makes way more sense that there are this is what I want to do with Seafood Sugar Cookie. I just want to franchise it. We will never have to perform. We'll be like the Jabberwockies. We'll just hire other people to play around the world
What do you
as
think
us.
the Jabberwockies do?
They're absolutely not the original Jabberwockies.
I never said that.
0%. Those men are 75 years old now and retired comfortably. But that was good. Did the whole staycation and got a very lovely gift. I got a very lovely gift from a listener.
Ooh.
Myra.
Okay.
Thera partner Myra sent me, well, you'll never guess. What do you think I was
I'm
sent?
not going to guess because I'm not going to guess.
A ticket to Scotland.
That would be awful. And I would not
Was
do
your
it.
spirit points?
That's terrible. Somehow use my own spirit
Yeah,
points.
somehow she got them.
It's just a link to
Yeah.
a Scotland ticket on Spirit.
I was sent an iPad.
Oh my gosh, Myra spoils
A
you.
working iPad?
Yes.
That's a great follow-up
Yeah, a
question.
little hesitation there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah. But
Yeah,
I assume it would
yes.
work. I mean,
Yeah.
You haven't turned it on yet?
no. I mean, I assume that everything's in order.
But you brought it.
No.
What the hell? We don't believe you until we see it.
Well, it's real. I'll have you know.
Yeah. She lives in
Say
Canada.
so.
Yes, my girlfriend lives in Canada. No, Myra
Did you open
sent
the box?
me a. I did not open the box.
Okay.
Okay, I have questions then.
Okay.
Jacob got excited.
All right, we're in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was the box sealed in plastic?
No. I don't know.
Man, I'm really looking forward to next week's recording.
Well, no.
I am really looking forward to next week's recording right now.
Well, why? I don't get why this is exciting. Just an iPad.
Because
my
if
God.
Myra is fucking with you and you don't know it yet, it's going to be wonderful.
So, okay.
Wonderful.
Here's
I
what
tell you.
happened.
Like, I might break out into Christmas carols.
Yeah.
And accept
Jacob
Jesus Christ
actually-
into my life.
This is the day.
This is actually a gift for Jacob that Myra
Yeah.
sent
This
for
is the
his
day.
birthday.
No, that would actually work because his birthday's in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
No, so I get an email from Apple, and it says, "Hey, your order's ready for pickup at the Apple Store."
Ah.
Okay.
And I'm like, "What?"
and it wasn't
says
like
Myra.
the scammers. You
No,
know, they
no,
created
it said it was from Myra.
The address for the Apple store was a parking lot
Right?
outside of my condo.
Yeah. It's an actual farmer's market, and it's actual apples. Yeah. And so I'm like, whoa. And so I get all the Myra, and I'm like, hey, what is all this? And, hey, I got you an iPad. Like they've given you enough shit over the years. It's time. Now you finally have this. And I was like, oh my God. Like, just I 100.
That's a very nice gift.
Well, it's too nice. It's a waste on me, and also like I don't
Not
use
according
Apple
to you.
products, so like I didn't know what to
You
do.
do now.
So I was like, well, I don't even have an Apple ID. Like, I don't use Apple.
They have classes at the Apple Store.
I'm sure they do.
For the old people.
Yeah, and I honestly would need to go. So I did beg Myra to refund it and to take it back because I absolutely could not use it. And I have a tablet. My mom got me one, so I do have a tablet. But I did get a real.
That was a very
iPad.
nice gesture.
That is.
Yeah. So just so you guys know,
In theory, you got.
I
an
did.
iPad.
I mean, I technically owned one for
The
like a half hour.
The iPads that I've gotten from our listeners, I don't
The
send that shit back.
iPads.
Yeah, that's true.
Plural.
Myra, I thought
iPads.
we talked about this.
You knew that she was going to get me an iPad?
Kind of. She messaged me on Discord about what we'd stuffed the box with.
Oh, was it going to be an
It
iPad?
was not going to be an iPad. It was going to be an iPad box.
Oh shit!
Oh,
So I'm very disappointed. I'm very
It
disappointed.
was a real iPad. I even called the Apple Store.
hold on.
I called the
Hold
Apple
on.
Store and asked them.
No. This is Schrodinger's iPad.
Okay, did it exist?
We don't
Yeah,
know.
we
Good
don't know.
point.
We don't know what was in
It
that
said
box.
to Myra. Did Myra
point.
forward you that email?
Good point.
She
I
got
do
the
think you're
iPad.
right. I think the rules of quantum physics apply. It
Yeah,
did it until an observer saw it.
Right.
I don't know. If a machine packaged it in China, Who knows? If no human laid eyes on it, it's only a particle wave of possibilities.
Yeah.
So, okay, touche. So, yeah, we don't know for sure. But, Myra, thank you for thinking of me. And, I don't know how to use Apple.
So does this mean we're done with you complaining about you not getting an iPad? Or,
Has that ever
or
stopped
are we going to
me?
continue that even
Oh,
though
I'm
somebody
good with
did send you?
Yeah, I have my tablet. I'm good.
Okay.
Mom got me one. I can use it. I know how to use it. So
So
I'm happy
you're
with that.
uncomfortable receiving an iPad.
Uncomfortable because it is a waste on me, and also that's a lot of money, and I don't feel good about a gift that's that
So
expensive.
listeners, if you want to make Jim feel really uncomfortable, keep sending him
No,
iPads.
don't do this. No. It'll be it's going to be your problem because I'm going to get so anxious. It's going to be your problem. You're going to be mopping me up.
That's even funnier than sending them to Jacob.
And honestly,
Although, if you keep
sending
them to
Jim
me,
gratuitously
that's
nice
still
gifts.
real funny.
Jacob gets a kick out of it every time you do it.
Yep.
Anyway, thank you, Myra, and thank you for everybody else who wished me happy birthdays on the Discord. I had a lot of fun with it, and I did a little live Discord concert. I played a live concert on my birthday on Friday. And
What songs did you
went for a
play?
whole hour. Oh, just a medley of bullshit that I like Down with the Sickness by Disturbed, as well as the other hits of a similar genre.
play this on
I
acoustic?
Want
Yeah,
It
on a
That Way
guitar?
by Backstreet Boys. Yes, of course, it was an acoustic review.
Okay.
So I had a good time with it. But
Sad I missed
thank
that.
you. No, it was a
I'm
good
just
show.
picturing Down with the Sickness acoustic version.
Yes, yeah, and No Diggity. Played that as
Good.
well. So the classics.
Yeah.
all the hits.
All in the same key.
Yes. We've been over this. I know one key.
The
and that's
key
it.
of average.
It's the key that opens the door. We've got some great letters today, but we've got a response letter I want to start with.
Great.
Really
Yay.
good one. It says, "Why to Stay Sober," a reply to episode 296.
I remember this one.
This is a good one. Hi
did
there.
too.
I'm the guy y'all absolutely tore to shreds a few months back when I asked you to remind me why I wanted to stay sober. Admittedly, it was a dumb question, and I'll surprise literally no one by saying that I was drinking while I wrote it. It took me a couple days to remember that I had
my
even
gosh.
sent in the letter, and I audibly gasped and cringed with shame for days/weeks.
I need a refresh.
He'll talk about it in the letter.
Okay, great.
You don't remember, Jacob? No, just kidding.
Yeah, you were drunk. I audibly gasped and cringed with shame for days/weeks/whatever later when I realized that I was coming up next after the break.
Oh, no.
I'll be honest, I immediately obliterated the app and didn't return to the episode for a couple weeks.
Poor thing.
After garnering the fortitude to return,
One of the more creative ways we've lost a listener.
this is true
Yeah.
because we answered their question
Yeah.
We
and
read
they
it.
quit before they got the answer. After garnering the fortitude to return, I wasn't surprised at all when I heard Jim, Nikki T, and Whitney McBadass all having their turn, absolutely devastating me.
It's a weird bum name.
I mean, explaining
I'll
to
take
me just how flawed, half-baked, and flatly immature some of the presenting thinking was. I'll embarrassingly mention here that this decisively disapproving dissummation happened in episode 296. Those words might not make complete sense together, but whatever, I'm just here for the alliteration. The Patreon was pretty great for that episode too, by the way. But hey, it turned out to be just what I needed. It wasn't the day of or the day after, but soon enough, I decided to try sobriety. I've tried it before many times during my decade and a half of drinking since 13, but never really made it past 2 weeks for many of the reasons I gave in my letter. Well, I'm ecstatic to say that December 3rd will make 60 days sober.
Hey,
That's
Awesome.
awesome. And y'all, let me tell you, holy shit. It certainly hasn't
Holy
been
shit.
all roses, and it's been happening very incrementally, but my quality of life has already drastically improved. I'd say around day 30 to 40, things really took off. Sleep has improved, fear and anxiety have lessened. My mood and energy have boosted. The bags under my eyes have literally almost disappeared.
Good.
And I swear waking up without a hangover is a superpower. Side note, my blood pressure is awesome now. Very cool stuff. Even though it really, really kind of hurt, I took your advice to heart. And I'm not going to lie, I even went back for a second and third beating to help keep myself on track. Also, I kept reading sobriety timelines those first few weeks to remind myself of things to look forward to. Also, I began seeing a psychiatrist about a month ago and got on bupropion and Buspar, and am beginning therapy December 1st. Sobriety and medication have each made a noticeable, unique impact on my life and are helping me truly begin to recover after so many years of hiding from myself. I'm so happy I dumbly, stupidly, impulsively sent that embarrassing letter. I hope I can keep this up. I hope this letter isn't too long. I could say that I wrote it all in the hopes of giving someone else a small amount of motivation to help them start their journey, or a small amount of fuel to help them keep it going. But honestly, it'd be a lie. My ulterior motive is to allow myself some pride in telling someone about this massive personal achievement. I've kept this mostly under wraps because I wasn't going to risk crying wolf about my sobriety. But seriously, if this does help someone, that'd be an incredibly awesome thing. It is, if it's the case that this letter is filled with more half-thoughts and contradictory statements, I promise this time it's not because I'm drunk. Occam's razor would say that I'm just really bad at writing. Thanks for all you do. Moi, Anonymous from episode 296.
I believe in your just bad writing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I believe it. I love that the letter was written drunkenly.
I know.
And that
I
they
was like-
forgot they wrote it.
So-
that is the most
so
on-brand
296
thing.
Okay.
296 is not recent, right?
No,
What
we're in
number
the
is that?
300s.
We're through 09.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's months and months. Yeah.
No,
but not
it's
that long
a couple
ago.
months.
Yeah,
Four
okay.
a month.
But he
right?
was pretty confident in his original letter that he was a much better person when he was drunk. He felt more
Yes.
confident.
Yeah.
He was like, why would I get
Yes.
sober if things are so great?
Everything's
And-
so great.
Yeah, I think, Jacob, you
As
were
he
like, are you
drunkenly
sure?
writes us the letter
Are people
about how awesome
saying
he
how great you are, or are you just thinking how great you are? Yeah.
I think this is one of the ones I do this every now and then because he purposely mentioned the three of you saying things to them, and I was like, well, why didn't I say anything to this person? This sounds like one of the ones that could be I shut the fuck up because I was going to be mean.
You're like,
It's not the notes he plays. It's the notes
Yeah.
he doesn't. Jazz
It's the,
like Jacob.
if you don't have anything nice to say, shut the hell up.
Shut the hell up.
No, good for you though, writer. I mean, I would just say the fact that you wrote a letter, forgot about it, and surprised yourself when you heard
that
it on
is
air
so.
is probably a good indicator that you made the right choice.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Self-contained right there.
Yes.
Evidence was on
It
point.
sounds like a light bulb moment.
Yeah. How do you know you might be an alcoholic? Maybe because you got drunk and forgot about the letter you cried out for help with to the therapist show that you listened to, and then were terrified of their answers.
No, but the last thing that I'll say, congratulations.
Yes.
That's huge. Stick with it because the big trouble that people run into is when you are active in your addiction, the consequences are delayed and the positive parts of addiction are immediate.
Yes.
When you go into recovery, that's backwards.
Yeah.
All of the benefits of being in recovery are delayed and the immediate consequences are immediate.
Yeah.
So, you experience like you get sick, you have trouble focusing, you're frustrated a lot, you're irritable, all of these things happen right away, but you stick with it, then you see all the good things. So
That's awesome.
You've stuck with it long enough to see some of the good things. That's awesome. Keep going.
Yeah, and it doesn't work unless you keep working it. Anybody can white knuckle and get through a couple of months. I love that you're getting the psychiatry going, you're getting the therapy going. That's you throwing in the real wood that's going to keep the fire going after the starter log has burned out. So keep up that energy. We're glad to hear it. We're all rooting for you.
That's awesome.
And you said you're a patron, so I hope that the Discord community is there for you as well. We're always celebrating victories. You don't ever have to out yourself if you don't want to. But patrons on this episode, please comment with some support because we know our friend can read that because they do subscribe. So make sure that you comment. Maybe they don't feel like outing themselves on this one. But let them know that they can, see all that support. We're rooting for you, friend. That's awesome. Well, we've got some other great questions. Let's start off with this one. Being a neurotic mess from Anonymous. Hey, Pod Therapy. Love the show and how helpful so many of your answers are to understanding myself and others. I'm so curious your thoughts on this quirk I have always had and apparently has gotten much better with age and maturity. For some background, I'm in my mid-20s, am an only child of slightly older parents, and am adopted. My grandparents came to the U.S. with absolutely nothing post-World War II from Germany. So we were raised to value and respect everything we worked hard to attain. Family heritage and passing down stuff, as well as recipes, tradition, etc., is of high value in my family, as well as my husband's. Anyway, that might help give some context to my quirky trait. I do not, nor have I ever, done well with change. As a kid, I had an absolute meltdown on New Year's because I wouldn't want the year to end. Starting a new school resulted in months of absolute dysregulation. I ran away from kindergarten one day trying to get home, and even in college, where I finally said fuck it and came home every weekend in undergrad, when I had the opportunity last year to join some friends and live in a different state for a few months to do something I always wanted to do, I spent most of the time in a low-level panic and wanted to go home. I always seem to get the same breeds of my animals, even when I really would like something else. I even prefer to vacation only to Disney World, yes, even as an adult, or at least only travel through the Walt Disney Company. As any other vacation, I am constantly on edge, and it does not feel like a vacation. These are just some examples of my nonsense. Now, I love trying new foods, restaurants, outings, new activities, etc. Even getting married was fine. However, some things I cannot deal with, and it feels like there is no rhyme or reason to it. The current absurd example that has led to me writing in is furniture. My husband's wealthy family member was moving and kindly gave us many pieces of incredibly high-end furniture. These are not even replacing anything we have had long or had importance of, just things that were left over from college, thrift stores, etc. It's all incredibly beautiful, but I'm sitting here feeling slight panic and complete dysregulation. I no longer sob uncontrollably, but I did make sure I got home before my husband to try everything, touch it, and get semi-used to it in case I did have a meltdown, and it could happen before he got home. I don't want to seem ungrateful. I should be so excited, but I'm not. I feel like a strange version of Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory, like when someone moves something or would sit in my spot. I have done years of therapy, and she never seemed to think this was an issue. I'm currently looking for a new therapist with little luck. I'm fairly certain this isn't exactly normal, and would love to figure out what the hell it is or what direction to turn. If for nothing else than to get it under control before we add kids to the mix, and I loose my absolute shit because kids are chaos. Help! So excited to hear your answers. Thanks, Anonymous. My pronouns are she and her.
Kids would definitely be a rough
Oh
introduction.
boy, you want to be cured of your need for stability and everything being where you left it?
Predictability.
Get you some kids. Yeah,
my
you lose
gosh.
every fucking thing.
I mean, for a minute there, this sounded a lot like Jim.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I always go
I
on the
relate
same
to everything.
vacations, go to the same place.
This is me. I wrote this. So another thing I did, because my children steal shit and hide it. Have you ever seen that little doodad that you could stick to stuff, and then you could push a button on your app, and then it makes the thing ring so you could find it?
Yeah, like an AirTag.
Yeah, does AirTags
Only
do
if
that?
you're Apple.
Yeah.
This was
Tile.
It was
Tiles-
called
tiles do
Tile.
that.
That's it. I got
tiles
so
do
I
that.
got tiles and I put them on
AirTag is just Apple's
every
version of tile.
TV controller in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my
That's
kids
smart.
lose that shit.
Yeah.
all
Have
the
you ever
time.
done the thing? We used to have the things on like the remote and other things like that, where if you whistled, it would hear the whistle and
I
it
need
would
to
play a
find
little
that.
chime.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Oh,
yeah, you
that's
could just like
really
be in
cool.
the because like basically what room the TV remote's
right.
in.
Just walk around
So
whistling.
if you give it a little whistle and it played a little chime back to you.
That's what I needed. Yeah. So anyway, I get this person's letter deep in my bones.
I'm very curious to hear what all Jim has to say. My only little bits I wanted to, I guess, question a little bit more about was you said you were adopted. I was wondering when you were adopted. Was this like when you were a baby, a newborn, 5 years old? I was just curious about that because I feel like childhood trauma can sometimes play a part in wanting predictability. And I know after working with kids in foster care, having your life uprooted from something that seemed familiar, which is why I was asking how old you were when you were adopted, that can sometimes play a part in not liking change. Whereas you're okay trying new restaurants, you're okay trying some new experiences, but the change of the comforts around you, like your family, your furniture, your home, going to college and being away from your home, that just kind of ticked a thing in my brain. I don't know. I'm not really saying that you've been through something traumatic, but that's something I would maybe ask your therapist about, since you're seeing them and them, your therapist saying or seeming like it's not a big deal. I would maybe express to her that it is a big deal to you, because I've been in that position before where I may not see something as big of a deal until my client's like, this is really disrupting my life. I'm like, oh, okay, let's dive into that then. Or I just didn't realize that that was as big of a deal.
Yeah, because your therapist sees you for 1 hour in the office and doesn't really get the whole picture unless you really kind of paint that picture and just like say, hey, this is kind of an issue.
So those were my little bits that just stuck out.
That's a good point, though, because the thing that, I think the thing that's universal in this is trust and just kind of predictability. Like I went to this training, I talked about it on the show before, but this guy used a mathematical equation and it always kind of stuck with me. He had trust equals C plus P over T. And it was consistency.
Speed of light. Oh, sorry.
Consistency plus predictability over time. So if you're in a situation, because he was talking about children, actually, and he's like, do kids trust their parents or do kids trust their environment? It's like, well, if dad's an alcoholic, then dad is inconsistent and dad is unpredictable. Therefore, there can't be trust because we have to have an environment where we can predict the outcome of an event. I know that when dad comes home, he comes home at 5:30. He does X, Y, Z. He's in this mood and we eat and blah, blah, blah. If dad's an alcoholic, dad may be home at 5:30 and he may be happy and things are great. Dad may come home at midnight and be completely shit-faced drunk and then start beating us. And it's that inconsistency that just drives people to that anxious state. So that's one of the things we talked about. I think that kind of fits here where where Whitney was going with this too, is like any kind of trauma where there was a lack of consistency and a lack of predictability, then as an adult, it seems like you've kind of created that as being a foundation where I feel safe when I can predict outcomes. I feel safe when everything is consistent. So anything that's a little bit different, even if you're going on a non-Walt Disney vacation, can throw things out of whack.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And from the angle of looking at generational trauma a little bit, the adopted family had a culture to it, had a mindset to it, and that's absorbed. And that becomes the way we think.
That's modeled for you.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I firmly believe that most of the time anxiety itself is a nurture versus nature kind of situation. I think I came by it honestly. You guys have met my mom. She was joking about how her anxiety. My mother was adopted, and she her adopted mother has horrible anxiety, and that's where she got it, right? Yeah. And so it is interesting how we kind of inherit this. But even this idea of like disruptive and inconsistent childhoods contributing to maybe a bit of an over need for stability. I relate to that. I mean, and that actually kind of explains, I don't know if it explains, but it's adjacent to my truth. I moved almost every year of my life until I was about 9 years old.
Oh, wow.
And so like for me, it was a lot. And so like I never could make the same friends.
Yeah.
I envied kids who grew up together. I envied kids who like decorated their room, and like didn't have to like change stuff or move or whatever. And so like stability, whenever I became a parent, was my one biggest thing I wanted for my kids. And like, I'm super, like, that is one of my greatest life achievements. My children have never moved in their lives. Like it's always been the same.
They're very sedentary.
Same house. Yeah. I keep them in cages.
They're like veal calves.
Yeah.
He puts the tie.
Veal calves. Oh,
I was gonna say
you said cages. I just took the natural thing.
Yeah, you went with the next one.
The air tags to track them, make sure they don't move.
But I don't like change either, and like we still do our little vacations, but also I like my regular vacations. Every year we go to La Jolla, California. That's where I want to go. It's the same hotel, the same beach, the same 4 restaurants, the whole trip. I want the familiar. Yep.
Of all the places in the world, La Jolla is perfectly nice.
Lovely.
I got nothing
because
against La Jolla.
Ain't nothing wrong. It's one of those ain't broke, don't fix it kind of things.
Do you like rewatching movies?
I used to. So when VHS was a thing, and we had like our own little personal VHS on your like crappy TV in your room, like you got the
Yes.
hand-me-downs.
Yes,
like,
that
"Yay!"
little tiny.
Yeah, and then you'd start like part of your like teenage independence was like gathering your own collection of VHS movies,
Yes.
and like, oh, do you want to hang out down here? No, Mom, I'm gonna go watch The
my
Lion
room.
King in my room.
Yeah.
You know,
The
and,
Lion
like,
King.
hell yeah, I watched The Lion King. I watched Aladdin so many times I warped the film.
I was just singing Lion King.
Oh, hell yeah, you were, of course. And Varsity Blues, and like, remember that? I'd watch that shit on repeat. So
A
like,
tan.
yeah, tan, fucking tan.
Okay.
Every part of this checks out.
Yeah.
Including Whitney doing Varsity Blues reenactment.
Yes, this is all
Not
great.
all the reenactments.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I'm talking
So
about.
yeah, I do. I like the same
I know what
stuff.
you
mean.
I listen to the same podcasts for years.
Why's
So
Whitney
I just
getting
like my
whipped cream out?
rituals. I'm very much with the writer on this. So calling it like a quirk or a trait, I mean, I think that we want to right size it. I don't think that it's something that you need to, because one of the things we've talked about years ago, we haven't talked enough about it recently, is that when we are diagnosing a problem, one of the key factors we're always looking for is a clinically significant amount of distress.
Yeah.
This doesn't cause that. It's just a quality you have, and you've learned how to manage it really well. Like, hey, I know that I don't like change. The furniture is disruptive to my ecosystem. It's my nucleus. It's my safe place. I might not, react to it really well. Let me get home and let me just kind of deal with this and just kind of, dude, that 100% is me.
But it does kind of sound like this is starting to cause
I was
a
gonna say
significant
that is-
amount of
Is it?
distress.
Okay. I don't think
Because,
Jim,
I
it's
mean, the
normal,
fact
right?
that-
Right, guys?
But,
Normal.
but here's the thing, like,
nothing wrong with this person, right? They should host a podcast.
she has to go home and make sure that she's touching all the furniture
Yeah.
because she is predicting possibly having a panic attack and
Right.
doesn't want a family member to see this.
Right up to that point, I was
Yeah.
thinking this doesn't sound that abnormal.
Yeah. I think that
Just sounds
again,
like more than a quirk to me.
Yeah,
no, I agree.
I think this is a normal thing that people experience, but it's pushed beyond the point where I think it's now becoming distress.
I just remembered I went to summer camp once in 10th grade and I came home and my mom had redecorated my room.
Oh my god.
I cried. I was an absolute mess because like all my stuff was in different places and like I had a new bed and like she was like, but no, this is the same kind of bed, it's just different. And I was like, it's not my bed. So all my stuffed animals weren't on there anymore.
She threw those.
You think
in
we
the
could
High
do
trash.
that
school
next
was
time?
very confusing.
Next time Jim's
for
out
me.
of town, do you think we could do that?
Please never do that.
Oh, let's just move his chair 2 inches to the left.
I would notice that. If there were I can't handle it. I just once I've acclimated to a thing, if that thing changes too much, I am not okay.
Well, but I do think it also
Emotional.
depends too with like you said, like traumatic experiences and like what it means to somebody.
Yeah.
This is always something that we always paid a lot of attention to when you work with homeless populations.
That's
Yes.
very
Like
true.
you don't throw shit away.
No.
It looks like
Yes.
garbage to you, but
Yeah.
this means something
It
to
might
somebody.
be useful.
And
Yeah.
it's something that it provides them stability so you don't mess with their stuff,
Mhm.
and so I don't know. I think I'm glad to hear that you're going to be going back into therapy, and I would definitely encourage you to bring this up and let your therapist know that this is something that actually is pretty distressful.
Yeah.
For me.
Learn to measure it with subjective units of distress. Like come up with your own like 10-point scale and just start to kind of track that kind of stuff. And that's super useful
I
for
do
a
like
therapist to hear
scales,
about.
yeah,
It
a
really gives
bunch.
us a way to measure
Helps
the
us connect
unmeasurable.
because
Yeah.
a lot of times I'll like throw out a scale and my client, I'll guess in my mind, I'm like what I think they're gonna say,
Mhm.
and they don't. Oh, like most of the time they don't. They're like, no, I'm at like a 3 when I thought they'd be at like a 6. Or
Right.
sometimes I'm like, oh, they're doing good. They'll probably be at like a 2, and then like 7. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Well, what does a 7 look like to you? Is that high?
You
Like-
learn a lot.
Yeah.
When people start measuring something like that, then you realize, oh, this really bothered you. I would have predicted this would have bothered you. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay, that's super relevant. And
Yeah.
now we can go deeper into that experience. That
I
you've
think
had.
your therapist will help you too in identifying some healthy coping skills and allowing yourself to, like on that scale, allow yourself to get to a 4 and practice some coping skills, some grounding techniques to bring yourself back down to a 2. So a 4 is less scary than it used to be.
Mhm.
And understand that like, okay, things are going to be, I'm going on a vacation. This is a non-Disney vacation, going someplace new. I could be up to a 7, but to be able to have confidence and like, okay, but my therapist has taught me some really healthy skills. I feel confident I can get to a 7 and I'm still going to be okay. And I can bring that back down.
Yeah. The amount of money you're going to save when you stop going on Disney vacations.
Oh yeah.
I mean, That's college tuition for that kid. Like immediately.
Yeah.
Year 1, college is paid off. So it's worth it, Ryder. But great question. And also, don't listen to my co-host. There's nothing wrong with you. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about handling a troubled child. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ben Dunn, Malia, Richard Macy, Sonny Boy, University Jeff, Samantha Cone, Thunder Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Slurpee Kaye, Motherfucker, and Sandra McWaffle. And if you want to sponsor the show, become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy. Our trivia today, you're going to complete the lyrics.
Oh, yes.
Oh, boy.
Let's go.
Christmas carols, Christmas songs.
You guys are fucked. You
Okay, here's
atheist
how we're going to do
bitches.
this. Here's
This
how we're
is
going to do
my
this.
domain.
I've got 6 of them.
Okay.
All
So
right.
each of you get 2.
Okay.
Okay.
Ooh, okay. Oh, okay.
So you
Oh, I like
only
this
one
better,
person
'cause I was
gets
like,
to
I might
go.
not
Oh,
time
And
it.
if you don't get it,
shit.
somebody can steal.
All right. First
Okay.
off,
So we got to pick an order first.
did
Jim's
you
getting
fuck
excited
me?
over here.
Because you were. If
Why
you,
would I fuck you?
Why
He already
would
told
you
us the
fuck
questions.
Me?
He already told us the
Because he's
Have
questions.
you seen this
more
face?
attractive.
I'm 3% more
He's-
attractive
he's
than I
not
was last
many-
time you saw me, and
Why
you
would
can't
I-
handle it.
Why would I do that? Because it's good for the show. Because it's really funny to pick on Jim.
Because it's 80% of the premise. Go ahead.
No, Jim.
We'll just trust you.
Jim, these are going
I'm
to
going to get some bullshit
these are gonna be-
Kwanzaa song.
These are going to be totally fair.
All right, let's go.
What order? We'll go.
Can we do
counterclockwise.
1-1-1 and then
Who wants to
1-1-1?
start?
I think we
Each
should go
round
by
we get
most
one.
attractive.
Most
And
attractive,
Jim has
Jim.
already
Oh,
said that he is the most
established
attractive.
No,
that.
technically you've got the years on me, so that
All right.
3% is aggregate. You,
Oh.
you keep to add
Okay,
those up.
all right.
don't know.
We'll go,
Plus you get
we'll go-
interest.
We'll go Jacob, Jim, Whitney.
All right.
Go right around
Feels like the
that.
attractive correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll do one set this time and then another set in the next commercial.
All right. So this is me, and then if I get it wrong, they get to buzz in.
Yes.
Ooh. So we can get the rebound?
Yes, you can
Oh,
get the steal,
shit.
but we'll go in order. So you get to Jacob steal. If you don't get it, then Whitney.
Okay.
And then Whitney can,
Okay.
or Jacob can get Whitney steal.
Okay.
Pick up where I leave off. And I've got a cold.
I'm
okay?
moving this microphone so I'm not tempted to fuck this up.
Have a holly jolly Christmas. It's the best time.
I really hope you were going to
of the
stop before
year.
Christmas.
Now I don't know if there'll be snow, but have a cup of cheer. Have a holly jolly Christmas. And when you walk down the street,
You went past every single line I knew. It's like
the other two in the room are
they're
gritting their teeth.
it's there they go, my favorite hoe. Now I'm gonna skeet.
Skeet, skeet.
Got it! That traditional the Christmas song that my grandmother taught me.
That's right.
All right.
Say hello to friends you know and everyone you'll meet.
Okay.
Man, I got the
Point.
rhythm.
That's a good one.
I nailed the rhythm
Skeet,
of it.
skeet.
though.
Yeah, you were on it, Jacob.
From the window to the wall, till the sweat drops off my
Here we go, Jim.
balls.
Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Pick up where I leave off. Feliz Navidad.
Shit. You son of a
Feliz
bitch.
Navidad.
Fuck this game.
Feliz Navidad. Go.
Prospero año y felicidad.
Fuck.
Wow.
Yeah, bitches! Thank you, Liberty University. I've been training for 7 years of higher education, and this is all we ever did. We just memorized Christmas songs. My day
Damn.
finally came.
All right.
Wow, Jim,
I'm
2-0.
impressed. I'm impressed.
Yep. Go
Okay.
ahead.
All right, Whitney.
Tim.
Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock. Jingle bell swing and jingle bells ring. Slow snowing and blowing up bushels of fun. Now the jingle hop has begun. Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock. Jingle bells chime in jingle bell time.
Oh, gosh. No, I can't think of what's after that. I was on a different song or a different lyric
different
when you
verse.
started. I was like, shit. Sing the last part again, the last line.
Okay, jingle bells, jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock. Jingle bells chime in jingle bell time.
Snowing and blowing and bushels of fun. Now the jingle has begun.
That was the one I just sang,
Dang it.
so no,
Okay, dang it.
you're out.
No, I think that's right.
Yep. Jacob's on my team.
Yep.
I don't fucking
got it?
know.
I can get the second piece of this verse. It goes, no, and then it says something like, it ends with in the frosty air, but the first half of it has to rhyme with air. So, Not in her eyes and not in her hair. In the frosty air. That's it.
What
Got
is
it.
the line?
That's it.
Dancing and prancing in Jingle Bell Square.
Shit.
Ah,
Do I get half a
hard.
point? That's a
hard.
point for Nick.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll
No.
take the win on that.
Nick
All
takes
right.
the W.
Jim's up 2.
Okay.
Woo!
Well done.
Thank you, Jerry Falwell.
That was fun.
You were right. We were going to
I
need
just
to know
repeat what
this.
Nick sings to me.
I was not let down. I'm glad I have all that debt. All right. Handling a troubled child from Anonymous. Hello. I've got a friend with a 16-year-old daughter that he's afraid is going to get herself or him into trouble that cannot be undone. The daughter has all kinds of behavior issues. He is divorced from his wife, who has all kinds of her own behavior and substance issues. They agreed the daughter should stay with him to clean herself up. But since then, she has been expelled for fighting teachers, has called cops claiming he beat her up, and got so mad she jumped out of his moving car. I'm writing on his behalf because today he received a call that she's in juvenile hall and needs to be picked up. He's putting a camera in his car and his house because he's afraid she's going to get him arrested for something he hasn't done. This would cause him to lose his job. She's been in therapy for a few years, and it is obvious that that is a plan that still needs some work. He's offered going to therapy with her, but she won't do that. It seems like this is beyond what an average parent should have to know how to deal with. What kind of professional should he seek out? What resources are available for him as a parent? What should he do to protect himself? Thank you, anonymous friend. Oh, boy.
These are so challenging. I mean, first of all, him getting cameras in his home, I say documenting a lot.
Yeah.
I've had a friend who went through kind of a similar-ish situation, and their partner was an addict, and like the dad could do no wrong, even though he was the one fucking around.
Right.
But the mom, who was stable and consistent, gets all the brunt, like even down to accusing them of things that they were not doing, like
Wow.
sounds like what this kid's doing. So I definitely suggest just documenting a lot of what's going on, documenting that another day I didn't hurt my child. Like, it sounds silly because it's just writing things down, but I think just some form of documentation helps, and the cameras.
You think like a chalkboard off the side?
Yes.
It's like X many days since I last beat my child.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
No, I
That's
kind of
admissible.
joke about like when Brett Kavanaugh was going through his thing, they brought in like his calendar from when he was in college. Like, look, see, it shows. And I was like, a handwritten calendar from college is held up like or whatever they were doing in their hearing. I was like,
Boofed in the trash can.
I was just like, oh, okay,
Boofed
so just
again.
write down whatever you want, and
That
then we're
was
good.
triangle.
That's the Senate. That's the Senate. This is more important stuff.
I'm just saying.
That's true.
Also, I'm just gonna throw out some questions there. I guess maybe it's assumed or implied, but I didn't hear any description of the dad's dynamic with the daughter. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of questions there. Like,
For
what is
sure.
going on? Because with teenagers, they are, especially at 16, they are their own individuals. There's no more influence almost. Like, it's almost zero influence that you have on them
It's
at
a
that
roommate.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a roommate. And so after that, it's like, how can you try and connect with them, try and support them when they do things that are positive? And how are you just interacting with them as a roommate, kind of like Jim's saying? And so I would be very curious. I know you didn't really ask what he should do in that sense, but as just somebody looking from the outside in, I would be wondering, what is that dynamic like to start with? Is he able to, because the kid's doing a lot of hurtful things to the parent, and what I see a lot is parents pissed off, rightfully so, that their
Sure.
kid is treating them that way.
Right.
And I have to kind of remind them of a few things. Typically, it's not personal, even though it feels very fucking personal. Like, the kid is dealing with their own stuff, and you're the safe person they're taking it out on because they think you will take everything. Now, I know that doesn't feel helpful to like how to stop it, but I think it's important to remember that. Yeah, what were you going to say, Nick?
Well, a lot of this is very familiar to me when I
Foster
was
parent.
as a
Yeah,
foster
tell me your
parent.
thoughts.
And so we had two. This is my ex-wife and I, And keep in mind, we are both therapists.
Yes.
And this is
creme de la creme.
This is a lot of work. We had two 17-year-old boys.
High needs foster care too.
Yeah.
Not like just
Yeah. I mean, they had some problems. And a lot of it, honestly, I think Whitney just kind of hit the nail on the head, which is all about the relationship that dad has with this daughter. I think that's kind of the number one, that's your starting point. Because I think you're right. I mean, they are almost kind of like roommates at that point. You know, we didn't have cameras set up, but that's not a bad idea. I mean, a lot of foster homes do that.
Yeah.
You know, just
In the
because
communal
we just,
spaces,
we just need to document everything that needs to be, you know, so I would agree with that. I think that's a great place to start. And I think I also agree that, you know, you can't take things personal, as hard as that is, because you do feel like everything is personal. The other thing too is it's going to be interesting to see how this develops over time, because it sounds like she just moved in. She just came there, which any kid in this situation, when they go there, the first thing they're going to do is push boundaries.
Yeah.
Because they need to know, what can I get away with? What is he going to be a firm stance on? Or what are the things that I can get away? How far can I push him?
Yep.
So it's going to be very important that he understands that dynamic. And having a consistent, predictable home, I think, is one of the best things we could do. Again, going back to the same thing we said in the last question, consistency plus predictability over time. If the kid knows, if she knows how dad's going to react, and it's very consistent, every day is going to be the same. As much structure as you can put into that home, you want to have that structure.
Yes.
And she will rebel, most likely, but I think most kids thrive in structure.
Yeah.
You know, because they feel safe when there's structure. And so and the nice thing about 16 years old is they're starting to be able to reason. Mm-hmm. Like, you can sit down, and if you start developing a little bit of a relationship with them, they will open up, and you can kind of start to understand, like, okay, she's acting out this way. Why is she acting out this way? And most likely it's because she's got some problems that she's dealing with. She doesn't know how to deal with them, and she doesn't know how to language it. But if you're able to kind of translate that and understand where she's at and give her some alternatives of behaving, and again, it's work. I'm not going to, I don't want to.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's going to be a ton of work, but it can definitely be done.
So this is a tough one, and I think we all agree with that. A couple of things here that I just want to kind of highlight. The daughter moves in with dad to get herself cleaned up. Mom also is problematic, but daughter clearly is her own kind of train wreck. Mm-hmm. And daughter is being brought to dad to get right. And when I see the behaviors that daughter's doing anyway, fighting her teachers, lying to police, trying to blackmail you, jumping out of a moving vehicle.
Yeah, but how fast was the vehicle moving?
A fair question. And also, what was it?
Yeah.
You know, was it very low to the ground? We talking like an El Camino? Okay.
Was it like a truck?
That's
was it like
a long
an
drop.
F-250?
That's a big drop.
Yeah.
I need to know the clearance. But
was it on the freeway? Was it on a bridge?
Was
Right.
it while you were cutting through?
Thank you. And writer, since you selfishly withheld those details, I'm going to have to wing it with something else.
Okay.
But no, this behavior is very high level. This is not a mere thing of like, hey, kid is defiant, right, at school. Like, this is oppositional defiance. Like, this is way the hell up there. Like, this is starting to drift into lanes where therapists are talking about like antisocial behavior. So my point of bringing that up is to say, dad is not the appropriate level of care. And to bring dad over here and say, dad, sort her out. No, this is way, if your friend is saying, I am overwhelmed, I don't know what to do. Correct. That is correct. And when Nick and I have run rehabs, people will say, I don't know what to do with my person. I've tried everything. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, I'm an experienced licensed professional who has an entire team to contain this person and help them. And the same thing is true for young people. A lot of people don't know this, but there are group programs. There are group homes. We have several in Las Vegas. There's a bunch in Utah. And I've had patients where the family has a teenager who is very similarly this out of control. And they have gone through their insurance and they have taken that child to group programs where they have stayed for a while. And there is some residential treatment for this. And we do consider it to be mental health treatment because this level of behavioral dysfunction is dangerous. It is not hard to write this diagnostic to get clearance for this. Now, having said that, insurances, being the bane of all people's existence that they are, often will not cover children for mental health reasons because apparently the feds have not done anything about this long enough. So I've also seen situations where insurance will not chip in and families have had to come out of pocket for these programs, and these programs are among the most expensive things you can experience.
Sure.
Yeah.
And because they are very specialized, it takes a very special team to deal with young people. It takes a very high amount of accountability and training. And let's be frank, you're over a barrel and there's not much else you're going to do about it. So I bring that up, Ryder, because if you guys haven't started researching that, this sounds like the level of care that kind of child should be going to.
I'm surprised the therapist that they've been seeing for years hasn't talked to
Surprisingly, a lot of therapists don't know it exists.
Yeah,
I only found
guess
out by
that's
accident.
true.
I didn't know that there were youth programs because you just think like, oh, there's rehabs and there's like psychiatric hospitals. You don't think about group homes, but they exist.
And we're also hearing about all of this third hand as well.
Yeah.
It is difficult though too to get kids into programs like this. I mean, I've had kids.
Them going to juvie though is a tick on a box usually.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing is
problems.
like, I mean, kids in foster care, were like it was frustrating to a point where it's like you got them in foster care. The kid does something like, from Jim's perspective, I get what you're saying is like, wow, this is some serious shit.
Yeah.
But from my perspective, I'm like, this nothing new to me. Like I've seen that in foster care, and I've seen that happen. And the DFS worker gets involved, or the child's parole officer, youth parole officer gets involved, and you're like, okay, we're going to do something for this kid, right? And they're like, yeah, we gave him good talking to, and we're going to send him back to foster care.
Right.
And the foster parent's like, what do you want me to do?
Right.
Like and you're kind of stuck.
Yeah, the appropriate level of care is almost
it's really
rarely
difficult.
accessible.
What if it's a really good talking to?
Oh yeah.
Oh well, if it's a really good talking,
I think an
then
Uncle
there should be
Jacob
fun.
talking
Yeah, life
to.
coach Jacob, get him in there.
Jacob, walk up, turn that chair backward, straddle it.
I
Flip
will.
my hat around.
Let me rap with you, youngster.
I will say that
Youngster.
typically what insurance may be looking for a lot of times is, have you tried everything else? So
You failed at a lower level of care.
when Jem's talking about like what other programs have they been involved in, these things were new to me coming to Nevada from Texas. But things like partial hospitalization,
Yeah, day
which
treatment.
we call PHP, or IOP, like intensive outpatient. I was like, IOP level of care, which is like a couple days a week. The problem with kids is that they're in school during the day.
Sure.
So you have to kind of shift around that. Then if they're going to spend hours after school, that could be IOP. But for PHP, that's like 6 hours a day or something, 5 days a week.
Right.
And so they want to see that you've tried those things. And if those didn't work, then we'll approve residential. So it's like a journey.
It is a journey.
Which is frustrates the shit out of me.
Yeah.
If I'm just gonna bitch for a second,
Get it, bitch.
Get it out.
because we don't do that with any other condition.
Really?
If you break your arm,
We don't go.
insurance is
Did you
like,
try a
did you
sling
try
first?
icy hot first
Yeah,
before
right.
you put the cast on?
Yeah.
Well, with
Or,
cancer,
like-
they do that.
Yeah,
They're like,
I mean,
did you
like-
try this? Did you try that? Well, this is cheaper, so let's try this first. If that doesn't work, then we'll try that.
Yeah, but it's like,
But that also has to do with how
it's
invasive
like-
the procedure is, right? 'Cause
It's also-
the higher levels are also risky, so they should ethically start at the lower
That's
level.
fair, yeah.
it's the right dose at the right frequency. That's
Right.
what's appropriate,
Yeah.
whatever that may be. You
Yeah.
know, but
No, that's fair. Like, if they're checking all the boxes right now, but they haven't tried those lower levels of care, that's like a broken arm. Like, we know what to do with that.
Well,
They're
one
getting
thing
there,
too,
like-
at a minimum, PSR and BST.
yeah.
Yeah.
At a minimum, psychosocial rehabilitation and behavior skills training.
And that's another thing that I didn't know existed.
And those are inpatient or outpatient?
Are
or
those
outpatient?
Nevada things?
They're Nevada things.
Oh,
they do not
there you
exist in
go.
Texas. Yeah. Oh, they might now, I guess, but when I moved
So
here,
I
they
guess
didn't.
how would we describe those to a global audience?
Okay, so
Gosh.
if I always like to look at it from like a treatment plan perspective. So if you've got a treatment plan, the therapist is doing like the psychotherapy in the individual sessions.
Yeah.
A PSR worker, psychosocial rehabilitation worker, is taking those and like going with the kid. Let's go practice these skills.
Yeah.
They
Let's
typically have a
practice this.
bachelor's degree, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Do
in
they have
Nevada
to?
they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like a junior therapist. Is
Yeah.
another
I
way
call
to
it
think
almost
about
like
So
a
if we're-
mentor,
Yeah.
Yeah,
helping
so-
with therapeutic skills.
Right. So
Yeah.
if we're working on healthy coping skills or grounding techniques. Like, okay, let's go out into society. Let's go into a situation where we have to use this, and then let's practice this.
Right.
And then basic skills training is more like, let's teach you how to check out a book at the library.
But emotional
let's
regulation,
check you how to do this.
Life navigation. And then, of course, there's all those community programs like Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. But again, I worry that I don't even want to recommend those things because I don't like putting the onus too much on dad. Like, Dad, if you were just creative enough, or if you would just care or read a book. And by the way, I think you should be in therapy, Dad. You know,
I was going to mention that too.
If that hasn't happened already, you should be in therapy.
Yeah.
Because I don't want you emotionally dysregulating in the presence of something this difficult, because this is above and beyond what any adult has the capacity to manage. And other parents that have children with like low functioning autism, where, you know, those have to be self-contained children and they're getting hit in the face and spit on and all these other things. Those parents get respite. Like part of their therapy experience is getting therapy, getting at-home providers.
Yeah. So
and having a respite worker who can give the parents a break so they can achieve sanity and like come back rested. And so like, I'm not saying you're at that point, but I'm saying you're literally having to put up 24-hour documentation like stuff. You're worried about how you're behaving in the presence of this person and what they can provoke out of you. If you're not doing your own self-care, that's square one.
Yeah.
Like, that has to start.
I do want to say too, if you share this with your friend and they do pursue something like a higher level of care, just, I know that's kind of a shot in the dark, but if they did, I want to just throw out there that doesn't mean you check out of your child's care. Like, because I've seen that happen too. It's like the kid goes off to residential and they don't see them for like a month. I'm like,
fix them and send them back.
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
Please don't do that. Be involved. Call every day. You know, like let your kid know that you're still there as much as you can be.
That's a tough situation, friend.
And I think that's honestly, if last piece of advice I'd have for Dad, I think you will get pretty far with this by just showing the child that you're consistent. Because I think that's one of the things that she is expecting. She's expecting that she's a big enough problem that you will cut loose. You'll push her away. She's going to be on her own and she can't trust anybody. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah. It's definitely validating. So you being able to say, you know, just to be consistent, be there, show up, have firm boundaries, you know, as far as what is okay, what's not okay, but just constantly keep showing up. That's going to be a big piece of it.
And if daughter will not let dad go to her therapy, which I completely agree with, by the way, and it doesn't bother me at all. I'm just glad she's going. And if she will go without putting up a fuss, that therapist is doing plenty of work right now. Don't barge in there. Don't try to, because I worry about that. Because if you've already got a participating 16-year-old and then dad starts showing up, you could triangulate the relationship and that could risk the therapy. And I don't want that. So I'm actually fine that was a no. And I'm great that dad didn't barge in. But why not dad invite daughter to dad's therapy?
Yes, that's what I was thinking. If he started seeing therapists, you
come in and say, you know, daughter, this is my therapist, Whitney. I'm working on my life, but she's also giving me coaching. And, I picked this therapist in particular because she has experience. She's a woman. She's worked with teens. And I just want to make sure that I'm learning how to be a better dad. So, you know, from time to time, if you could join my sessions and just give feedback, you know, Whitney's going to ask some questions to help me learn. And that would be great. And Whitney knows exactly what to do in that situation. Any therapist would. And we will just be like, great, thank you, daughter, for coming here. Let me pick your brain on some things because, you know, I want to help dad get better at this. And
they're a neutral person, too, to your daughter.
Even if she just shows up and goes, I don't know. Great, thanks for coming. Like, that was a great first step. So if you're not already doing that, that's the direction to kind of get it turned into more family therapy. Or you could say, we're also going to get a second therapist and have it be family therapy. Yeah. That's also perfectly acceptable. So all good ideas, but good luck with this writer. And, you know, another thing with the dad too, getting into foster care support groups, even though you're not a foster father in this case, will you relate to those families. And I think that they too would have a lot of great thoughts on this. And you'll be closer in proximity to therapists who have advanced training on this. And if you can find a therapist for yourself that happens to have worked in the foster care system, that's my first pick. Because they're going to be the weaponized warrior. Like they've seen it all. So
they are.
We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the dignity of risk. You're listening to Pod Therapy,
the board game. Today's episode.
I bought a new game of Risk. It's really good.
Brought to you by Ben, Don, Malia, Richard Macy, Sonny Boy, University Jeff, Samantha Cone, Thunder, Cougar, Falcon, Scoop, Slurpy Guy, Motherfucker, and Sandra McPancake.
That feels right.
It's pronounced pillow.
Hey,
Sorry.
before he starts singing songs.
Would you like to sponsor the show?
that,
Become a therapy
yeah.
producer, patreon.com/therapy. Go
So,
ahead.
as a kid or teenager, I played this version of Risk called Risk 2210 AD. And it's like
What?
future Risk where you could conquer the moon and like ocean cities. It's fucking awesome. But they don't make it anymore. You can only buy it secondhand, and it's usually priced at $150 online. Black Friday, I got it for $40. And now I have it, and I'm super excited to play. So I was really hoping after the show. I brought it. It's in my car.
Nope.
Did you really?
No. But I think we all know I'm capable of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why I genuinely asked the
He's
question.
like,
Yeah.
Just in case you guys wanted to play at the bar or something. Just wanted you to have it.
I'm sure
All right.
someone at the bar would play with you.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a good point. I just walk up to random people at the bar.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Excuse me. Jacob.
I've never played Risk, but
I haven't either.
I'll play with you. Not tonight. I can't do it tonight.
Oh, that's a good
We're
game.
recording early because I've got something else that I have to do tonight. But I'll
Fair.
play with you another night.
Rain check.
Rocking around the Christmas tree at the Christmas party hop. Mistletoe hung where you can see.
I cut my hair in a crop.
Well, that's
think
close.
he's got
I hit the
very
horse
close.
with a crop. I know it's something about a crop.
Hung where you can-
Corn is a crop.
You can see.
All right, give it to me again.
Yeah. Do it
Okay,
again.
rocking around the Christmas tree at the Christmas party hop. Mistletoe hung where you can see. Dun, 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 dun,
You have to tell me
I know,
if
I have
you're a cop.
I know I have the wrong words
I
because that's one of those songs where I
know.
just like say whatever's in
Yeah,
my head.
yeah.
I'm like, that is not right. I can't wait to say my.
Okay, you get the steal.
Where you can see. It's got to rhyme with hop, right? So I think we've gotten rid of cop.
Yeah, that's marked off.
This one was a tough one. I had no idea these were the
I'm gonna wait
lyrics
till
until I
Jim's
looked
done.
at it.
So you gave it to me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Hey, at least yours was in English, dude.
True.
that's fair.
Every year growing up, and still, if I do make it home for the holidays, which is rare, my whole dad's side of the family all gets together, and on Christmas Eve night, we have like a sheet of paper and with like 20 different Christmas carols on it. So every year for my life, we sang every one of those songs
wow.
with my aunt or a cousin or somebody playing piano and just a whole family singing these songs. Not a single one of those songs has been on your list of songs that you've asked
Oh
about.
my gosh!
Mistletoe hung where you can see.
Okay, 5, 4, 3.
Be a bottom, I'll be a
2.
top.
That's it.
No. I'm not going to give you that one.
Damn.
Where you can see
I think spiritual
And-
is the right spot.
the new old-fashioned flop. That's
Nope.
what I sing.
You're one verse out. Yeah, because the new old-fashioned way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no, it's an old
Something
English.
flop.
It's an old English song. So it's a fancy person is a fop.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's
Sorry,
it.
what is it?
Oh, y'all did so good. Every couple tries to stop.
Oh.
Kissing?
Wow.
Under the mistletoe.
Mistletoe hung
Oh, they
where
try to
you can
stop
see.
under it.
Every couple tries to stop.
So then they
Oh, I
have to
thought-
kiss.
I thought it was making a statement about consent.
Yeah.
They were like trying to
yeah.
withdraw consent.
Yeah.
and weren't
That didn't
able to.
exist in the 1950s.
That's how I want it.
so.
Yeah.
All right, Jim. Melikaliki maka is
Damn
the
it.
thing to say
Jesus Christ.
on a bright Hawaiian Christmas
And
day.
he's still winning.
That's
he's still
the
gonna
island
win.
I
greeting
know.
that we send to you from the land where palm trees sway. Here we know that Christmas will be green and bright.
The sun will shine by day and all the stars at night.
Oh, that's it,
Got
isn't
it.
it? Woo!
Malakaliki Maka is the right way to say Merry Christmas to
today.
you.
Oh, I'm like today.
It should be today.
It should be, right?
All right.
Come on, Hawaii.
Yeah,
Get
get it
your
right.
rime scheme
Yeah.
together.
Let's see.
Shit
I'm
and
always
bricks.
glad Jim gets those
You
because
really
like I
shouldn't
wasn't.
say that. Yeah, sorry. Shit and rocks.
Okay, I'm trying to decide. Okay, here, let's go with this one. Last one, Whitney.
Okay.
Here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus, right
Riding
down Santa Claus Lane. He's got a bag that's filled with toys for all the
Oh no, this is not gonna go
for
well.
the boys and girls
to-
again.
Again.
Hear those sleigh bells jingle jangle. Oh, what a beautiful sight.
Hang their stockings on.
Nope.
the something above because Santa Claus comes tonight.
You're
so close, but you're the
halfway.
wrong verse.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, I'm on the wrong verse all the time. Hold on.
Put on a condom and wrap
Yeah.
it up because
Thank
Santa
you.
Claus comes tonight.
Yeah, he does.
Hear
Read
those
it.
sleigh
Read
bells
those.
jingle jangle. Oh, what a beautiful sight.
Let's give thanks to the Lord above because Santa Claus comes tonight. I don't know.
That's at the
I don't
end.
know it.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
the
know.
third verse.
You've got
I've-
two of them.
I know.
You're
You're on the
almost
wrong
there.
verse.
I don't know. I don't
You
know.
got it?
I have no idea. No. I already gave my guess.
Well, I checked off 2 for you.
Stuff your
Thank you.
stockings and say
Your
your prayers
prayers.
because Santa Claus comes tonight.
No.
Shit.
What
All
is
three of
it?
you got it.
What was it?
So jump in bed and cover your head
Oh,
because
I
Santa Claus comes.
I would have never
Otherwise,
gotten
it'll
that.
get in your hair.
Oh.
How do I get the other 2, but not that?
I don't know.
I would have never gotten that one.
Well, we have now sexualized a whole lot of innocent songs.
Yeah, it's fine.
Children, if you're listening,
They weren't
turn this
innocent.
show off an hour ago, please.
Jacob's still working on extra lines over there.
He's at the end. He's going to read his
He's
opus.
Googling all these and coming up with different
I've got a yellow pad.
Yeah. He's been workshopping these lines
Yeah.
the whole time.
I'm emailing them out to a couple of friends to see what they think.
Getting some notes. The Dignity of Risk by Anonymous. Hey, Pod Therapy. I'm a case manager at a regional center in my county. I'm basically a service coordinator for individuals with developmental disabilities, and I help them with a variety of things, from individualized education plans to finding employment to social recreation, etc. We just had a training on giving our clients the dignity of risk, and I wanted to see what y'all thought. Basically, we discussed how our clients are individuals with their own desires and choices, and we should help them pursue those things rather than try to control it. Sounds pretty obvious in some ways, but unfortunately, many people can forget this when interacting with someone who has a developmental disability. This training wanted to address how we should give people the dignity of risk, rather than operating out of fear. We need to allow our clients to make choices that may have risks, because that's how life works. During the training, someone gave the example of a client who lived in a group home, and he loved Dr. Pepper. But because of his diabetes, the home said he was not allowed to have it. One night, he left the house around 2 a.m. to get Dr. Pepper from the store. Sadly, he was hit by a car and died. The person leading the training said that if the home had just given him Dr. Pepper, the man would have lived. He said, who cares about his diabetes? It's better to have 5 amazing Dr. Pepper-filled years than 20 miserable years without it. I had a hard time with this example. Didn't he technically have the dignity of risk by going out at night, and unfortunately just had a very poor outcome of taking that risk? The trainer gave another example of a woman in a group home that was doing meth. So they moved her to another group home, and she was sad moving homes. The trainer said we should care more about quality of life than quantity. If the thing that matters most to her is meth, then we should not keep her from doing that. He said the focus of our job is to help them live fulfilled lives, and it doesn't matter what that looks like. I particularly struggled with this idea because I find it morally difficult for me to encourage someone to do something that I feel is wrong and that I see as being harmful to them. Also, I just don't know how legal it is to encourage someone to do meth. Is this something you guys have come across in your lives and or fields of work? I want to respect my clients as independent individuals, but I also don't feel comfortable encouraging them to do things that I don't think would be good for them. Any advice is appreciated. Thanks, Anonymous.
I have 2 clarification questions real quick. First one, who was giving this training? Who was this person giving this training?
Somebody that manages, I think, the group homes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then
Somebody not on this podcast.
and then the writer
Not
is what is the writer's profession?
Case manager.
Case man. So we're dealing with somebody. So the person giving the advice runs group homes in some capacity,
Yeah, for individuals with developmental disabilities.
and then the writer is a case manager
Yeah.
for the county.
for the county.
So
Yeah.
they're all
Sounds like
associated with the same
they're
population.
I think the person giving this training is fucking stupid. Next question.
I do like the idea of people. None of that.
Dignity of risk part, like the general
No.
dignity of risk part. I'm fine with that.
No, I'm fine with the idea of the letter. I love professionals writing in so we can second guess other people.
Oh, that's great.
I hope this podcast does only this from now on.
That's all I agree.
Nick's living his best life over there.
Shit on other people.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
We can never do that to the writers. So we like when writers give us the tea.
Yeah. Now, here's an example, I think, where I love the idea, the concept of dignity of risk. I agree with that. But again, like, there are extremes on both sides of this that are terrible.
Yeah.
And I think you can go so far at the other end where it's like dignity of risk, everything's on the table. Yeah. Everything goes. I mean,
you could literally say the same thing about raising children.
Yes. And
you have to give your children the dignity of risk. So if they really enjoy meth, they should get meth.
Right.
Well, what the fuck are you talking about?
And I understand this is
going to get back to me calling you a fucking idiot real quick.
I understand that we're working with a population of developmental disabilities, but no one in society gets those choices.
No.
Like, none of us get to live that way where it's just we get to do whatever we want with no consequences.
And by the way, I completely agree with the writer about the Dr. Pepper one. Like, yes, they had the dignity of going out and getting their own soft drink, and something terrible happened while they were doing it one day, but they were afforded that dignity. I think the writer's absolutely right about that.
When I think of dignity of risk, and maybe this is just the way I think about it, but when I think of dignity of risk, working with individuals, like going back to the foster care example, like working with kids, I want them to be able to make choices. I want them to be able to fail at those choices. Sure. I want them to be able to experience consequences, but I want them to be able to live through those consequences. So it's almost kind of like, like we're going to take the training wheels off and we're going to allow you to ride this bicycle yourself, but we're going to do it in the grass first. So when you fall, it's kind of soft. Right. So we can still experience the consequence, but we also are going to be okay, with making that choice. I think there's a lot of different approaches that can be done here with like harm reduction. Definitely, I mean, just allowing this individual to just drink as many Dr. Peppers as they want for the rest of their life, well, that's going to have some serious consequences if they already have diabetes, right?
Right.
Is there a harm reduction philosophy that we can incorporate here? Like, yes, okay, we're going to allow you Dr. Pepper, but let's do Diet Dr. Pepper, or let's do something else. Hey, and also, let's not just do this, but let's also incorporate more of these foods. Let's incorporate some other nutritional foods here too. So we're not just going to say you can't have this. We're going to say you can have a lesser amount of this, but also let's try to do this too, and still allow them choice. But I think there's some harm reduction philosophy that could be used here.
I think saying somebody deserves the dignity of risk. I mean, there are different ways to say this, the dignity of being allowed to fail, all of these things. I mean, all you're really saying, I think, at the end of the day, is I'm just going to treat this person as an equal.
Yeah.
I'm going to defer to their decision-making process when it is appropriate. When I'm supposed to defer to them, when I'm able, because these are people in your care. When I'm able to defer to them and their decision-making, I'm going to do that because that gives them the dignity of choice, of risk, of everything else, and the ability and the dignity to live their lives in the way that they are able to. But yeah, I mean, if you are, I assume, in some ways responsible for these people, saying that you're giving them the dignity of choice or the dignity of risk, just by saying, well, I'm going to let this person that I'm responsible for do anything that comes into their mind, whether it's good for them, bad for them, or kills them, I think that's just idiotic.
I mean, how big is the risk? I mean,
right.
If we're allowing meth use, well, it's not just the use of meth. We also have to factor in the purchasing of the meth.
Yep.
We have to factor in the where you have to go to get that meth. Like, there's a lot.
They hardly ever have just meth dealers in the lobby at the Hilton.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. They're not going to deliver to homes.
I guess Hilton's gone downhill a little bit over the last few years. That's not a great example anymore. Maybe the Four Seasons.
Four Seasons doesn't allow it.
Yeah. I feel like if we're going to focus on the English language a little bit here, I didn't hear anyone encouraging anyone to use Dr. Pepper or to use meth, but more like not stopping them.
Right.
So I want to just point that out. Like, you find it morally difficult to encourage someone to do something that you feel is wrong and see to be harmful. The examples you gave, nobody encouraged them to go get the Dr. Pepper or to go get meth. They just weren't. They were suggesting not stopping them from doing that. So I don't know. That stuck out to me first. Gosh, and the next thing I think of is like the needle programs. This reminds me of a conversation I had with a very conservative friend of mine who really could not wrap her head around. She's like, I just could not do, like, never volunteer for like the needle programs where you give clean needles to people who are users because that's encouraging them to use. It's like saying it's okay. And I was like, well, I don't know if they're going to use anyway. Like, you're maybe kind of like what Nick's saying, like harm reduction. Hey, you're going to use, I'll give you some clean needles. Then at least while we can sit and talk.
That to me just, and I know that I talk about things with no experience all the time. That attitude reeks of someone with no experience in that realm.
I agree. So I don't know. I'm not as opposed to the idea behind this. Like, I guess what Nick was saying, maybe give them some Dr. Pepper. You get 1 or 2 a day instead of 10. Maybe that would have helped keep them from going out at night and getting run over. But
I like the idea of like working with them to come up with ideas or solutions, and not saying like you get 2, because then now it's like, now I'm your parent and I'm in charge of you. Like, I get that that's losing dignity. Like, I understand that piece.
Well, it depends on what these group homes are too. I mean, to me, context is everything in these things. Like the Dr. Pepper thing, is he there because he's medically being watched, or is he there for behavior? I don't know, behaviors, but they're also trying to monitor his diabetes. To me, I have a nutritionist friend who has worked with people with diabetes, and it is the most frustrating job, she says, because they've spent 50 years drinking Dr. Pepper, and now they have diabetes, and you're telling them to stop, and they're not going to. Like, that's normal behavior to me. Someone addicted to meth, that's normal behavior. They're going to want to keep doing meth. Like, you think you're going to stop them? And I feel like even on this podcast, you've shared, like, that maybe you think it's silly that at treatment programs, you're like, oh, used meth, you're done, you're out, bye. Like, where's the balance then? So I don't know. Yeah.
One of the ethical guidelines that all of our disciplines really focus on at the center is autonomy.
Yes.
And the guiding principle that we're taught is that anytime we can, we should ask ourselves, what decisions, what kind of program, what kind of treatment can I provide that respects the autonomy of this patient? And so in these situations, you find a very interesting pinch point for that principle, right? Because we're talking about those who are developmentally disabled. They are on a spectrum where we're measuring how much functioning they reasonably have. And they're under care, and they're at the point where they're in group homes. Now, when you've reached that point in the care continuum that you're in a residential treatment program or a residential lifestyle program, it is monitored. It is monitored for a reason. And they do not have one set of rules that can govern every resident of that program. Because these are long-term care programs, and this is a chronic, progressive condition that will not improve, they are making special rules and special decisions for each one of the residents. So I agree with the trainer's concept of we need to be mindful that we are affording each patient the best amount of autonomy that we can respectfully offer them before we reach the precipice of abandoning our expectation of care. Right? And so there is an expectation of care. If I'm the girl who uses meth, if I'm the brother of the girl who uses meth, and I entrusted my sister, who I have attorney, powers over to guard and protect, into your program, and I find out you knew that she was using these substances, and you said we wanted to show her respect, I am going to own everything in this state when I am done suing you. Everything.
All the meth.
All the meth will be granted to me. I will have a castle built of it.
Yeah.
In bricks. No, it's absurd. Like, I will own everything. And I should, because you are so unprofessional, so dangerous to take this person who clearly has been entrusted into some level of your care and custodial power and allow them to do something like this in this facility, that crosses the line.
Like if I had a family, like just this instance, if I have a family member that I am putting into a care facility for whatever the reason is, and they are also diabetic, and they are drinking 20 cans of Dr. Pepper a day in their regular life, and when they're going to that facility, I speak to the director or whoever it is, the administrative person that I'm dealing with, and we go through that, and they say, "Yep, we're going to monitor this. We're going to take care of their diabetes as well as everything else." And then the next time I'm talking to them, they're telling me how my family member is losing their feet because they're still drinking 20 Dr. Peppers a day. I'm going to have questions.
Well, what is the difference between this person being entrusted in your care and this person living completely independently?
That's
We've
what I'm
already
wondering.
crossed the line
Yeah.
of them losing some measure of autonomy. The ethical principle of autonomy should still be obeyed, which is to ensure the lowest level of care and the highest amount of personal autonomy for every patient under our care, while still understanding that we have a professional role.
Dignity.
Dignity of risk is not destiny to fail. And so you're giving somebody, as Nick said, a proportionate amount of regard for themselves and allowing them to experience in a measured way the consequences of their choices. So dignity of risk with the Dr. Pepper guy would have been, okay, this is what we're training you on, this is what we're teaching you on. To the extent that this person can get it, we're grateful for that. To the extent that they can't, when they start drinking the Dr. Pepper and they get ill, because diabetes is progressive. It's not you wake up one day dead. Like, it is, you can feel very bad because you're not taking care of yourself. We are now allowing you to experience the natural consequence of this sickness, and that is the risk we allowed you to take. Now, the fluke of this guy walking out and getting hit by a car is the dumbest fucking example I've ever heard.
That's why I call this person a fucking idiot.
It reminds me of that scene in Family Guy, in the very beginning of Family Guy, where he's like protesting at the Senate to get rid of cigarettes or something, and like a senator gets up and goes, "Cigarettes killed my father and raped my mother." It's what? Yeah. Like, it's just this outrageous attribution of consequence that has nothing to do with what actually happened. That is not an example of dignity of risk at all. That is an example of fluke as shit.
Yeah.
Allowing some amount of Dr. Pepper, you could argue that would have been better affording the dignity of risk. Allow Dr. Pepper so they don't walk out and get hit by traffic is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. A terrible example. It doesn't teach anybody anything.
And this is, I don't know. I don't know why this popped in my head. It just kind of struck me as funny, and it's dumb and it's pointless. But like, if the woman using meth is like, for whatever reason, unable to go out and purchase meth, like, do you send an intern to go get it?
Go get the meth.
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah.
Like,
What's the level? What's the level here?
The procuring of the meth. And I mean, Nick brought that up a little while ago. That's a huge deal.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
they don't sell meth at a bunch of really nice, safe places.
It would be hard.
Some, sure, but not all of them.
It would be hard to use the example of we didn't allow this person Dr. Pepper, so he went out and he got hit by a car, to we do allow meth and she got killed in the deal.
Yeah.
Right.
Or she got robbed in the deal.
Right. What about that?
Yeah, like...
Well, we were giving her the dignity of risk.
Or they
you gave her the dignity of risk of buying and selling drugs.
Yeah,
but not the dignity of risk of dealing with the withdrawal of meth and dealing with the discomfort of not having, because that's also risk.
Like, they gave her something that wasn't meth, and now she died.
This is the dumbest example again, because rehabs that we've run. So the dignity of risk is let them bring drugs into the treatment program.
Yep.
Because they're grown-ups.
According to this guy, it is.
No, it's the dumbest shit I've ever
heard. And it's so hard because
Jim has come over to my realm.
Yeah, I'm with you.
He's a fucking idiot.
I get the concept of it, and I think autonomy, I guess, is kind of a good way to put it, as you had said. I think
principle on a sliding scale.
That's what we should definitely be aiming for, but I think we also have a responsibility as helping professionals, as working in this field. We have a responsibility to the safety and well-being of the people that we work with.
Yeah.
I at the end of the day, I think the thing that I get out of this question is that line is often blurry.
Yeah.
In this particular demographic, and we've got to go because we've got to wrap, but I do defer to, are there ethical guidelines for this population? Because like when we're treating addiction, it's a very different population. And if any other therapists were treating them and didn't have the experience with them, they wouldn't know intuitively how to handle that pop. So like you would go to the professionals who govern that realm and read their ethical codes and understand their sensibilities, because they will understand very carefully how they balance scope, responsibility, and autonomy. I imagine that the developmental disabled community and those who treat them would be in a better posture to understand this, with the exception of this asshole who should not ever have a job again. And I hope that county writer will play this for the mayor and let them know. Do mayors run counties?
I believe county commissioners.
If you do,
At least in Nevada, they do.
Don't do the commercials. I don't want my scene to be out there.
No, we don't want that. Yeah. So we are going to wrap the show.
We'll do the thank yous next week.
Yeah, we'll do. Okay, great. Yeah, so we're going to defer. We'll punt on the thank yous because we got some deadlines. We can get out of here. But
That's my fault, everybody. Sorry.
We want to remind you.
Fuck Jacob.
Thank you, though.
damn
What
it.
an asshole.
This is a good time to talk about our new sponsor, though, Dr. Pepper. Drink Dr. Pepper. It's not meth.
Do you
Dr.
want,
Pepper, it's not meth.
do you want carbonated diabetes? Dr. Pepper.
If you spill it, though, it does get methy.
It does get pretty methy really fast. I'm sure there's some ingredients in Dr. Pepper that can synthesize meth.
Yeah.
I think that's
Not Dr.
The
Pepper.
cough syrup is probably involved. Don't sue us, Dr. Pepper. As we wrap the show, we want to remind you that you can sign up at patreon.com/therapy. You can get the extended show ad-free a day earlier and access our live chat Discord community and our weekly deep dives, interviews, skill shares, research roundups, and rants. But we've got a couple of new thank yous. No, we do not.
Nope.
Wow. Thanks, assholes. Everybody who's listening to this on Spreaker, go down to Patreon and sign up. Go ahead and thank out the Thera partners, and we'll wrap it up.
All right. To especially thank our bosses, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of the fan club, their producers. Thank you, Jake Schneider, Robert Brownie Jr., Mint, Schmitty Scoop, Ben Don, Judy Snyder, Kayla Lansbury, Mrs. and Mr. Hot Dog Scoop, Malia, Leanne Kassab, Mason Miller, Richard Macy, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, Tess Miller, Sammy Scoop, Ben Stanley Slappin' Ya Face, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Byler T, University Jeff, Mike Helm, Paras, Samantha Cohn, Darren Cunningham, Lib, Team Monaco, Thunder Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Matt and Lisa Tangeman, Heyo, Oscar Swanrose, A Sunny Boy, Slurpy Kaye, Motherfucker, Sandra McWaffle, Dan Martin, and Hannah Marie. And their partners, Dirty B, Myra, and Pickett.
Hey, she
Thank
got
you.
it. Good job.
And if you'd like to hear this episode uncut and unedited,
And why
wouldn't
wouldn't you?
you?
and enjoy our spontaneous side projects, go to patreon.com/therapy. And thank you for supporting mental health.
That's all the time we got for this week's session. I want to thank our landlords, Matt Mattingly's Ice Cream Social Podcast, and thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. Remember, Pod Therapy isn't something to keep all to yourself. Share the episode with someone who needs us. Tag us on the socials when you do. It's at PodTherapyGuys on Twitter and on Threads.
Oh, yeah.
Threads.
And on Instagram.
I
And-
saw.
know what that is.
Yep. And
don't
it's
know what
slash
that
Pod
is.
Therapy on Facebook.
I was like surprised.
And don't forget about the goodies at patreon.com/therapy.
And if you want to submit a question to the show, ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm Whitney.
I'm Jim.
Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.
Jingle bells,
sucking at
jingle
this.
all the way.
I also
I mean, I
realize
really
there's a
thought
lot.
that Nick was going to be like give
Lost
Jim the non-English songs and then come to
away.
Whitney and I and be like,
Jingle bell, jingle
I'm
bell.
dreaming of a white.
It's always just Christmas.